Welcome to Lunch Hour Legal Marketing. I am Conrad Som from Mockingbird, and I have a little brother who has always been taller than me.
And I'm Guy Sakalakis from Attorney Sync, and I am slow cooking a pork roast today for lunch.
You keep sticking with the lunch themes. Remember last time we recorded, you came back with your roasted beets, which you had already talked about, roasted beets, and now you're still cooking pork. I like it.
I haven't checked the tapes on that, but I am very curious. So I actually had said the beats thing twice, but we're going to have to go to the tapes for that one.
All right. Welcome to Lunch Hour Legal Marketing. We are Guy and Conrad. We are the click and clack of legal marketing. If you remember click and clack, if you're over, say, 40, you probably remember click and clack on NPR. Two guys out of Cambridge, Massachusetts. You could do a call-in show and they would diagnose what was wrong with your car. They were brilliant. And I like to think of us as the click and clack of legal marketing.
We should do a call-in show.
We should do a call-in show. The last recording that we had, we actually answered two call-in questions or two questions that were submitted. We always like those. Please take a moment to submit a question if you're watching this on a forum, which allows you to do so. The other thing that happened, Guy outed me. He asked me, which is the most consistent way I get back to people? What is my favorite method of contact? And the answer was Facebook. And I was thinking about why. I was embarrassed. That was like, yeah, okay, you're painting yourself as a 50-year-old dude and you're just out of touch. And you know what I figured out? I figured out why, Guy, I respond to Facebook more consistently than anything else, including my phone. You want to know why?
Because MySpace went down. No?
Half of our listeners are now Googling MySpace. No, it's because I have no spam on Facebook.
Until now.
Until now. Thanks a lot. Which included Michael Sale. I was pretty psyched to get a note from Michael Sale. He's runs a law firm in Pennsylvania. I've pitched Michael, I think 3 or 4 times, and it's been like, let's go on a date, and you know, that was it. I've been 50 first dates with Michael Sale. He hits me up on Facebook Messenger, and I said, "Hey, what's up? How can I help you?" And he wrote
how
back
fast was your response? How fast was your response time?
It was 2.5 hours, but it was only 2.5 hours long because I was 35,000 feet in the air flying back from my parents to Seattle. Anyway,
you were in the TSA security line, so you couldn't respond instantaneously like usual.
All Sale wanted to know was how quickly I was going to get back to him. So you are now dead to me. Criminal defense lawyer, Pennsylvania.
What else we got today, Conrad?
Well, as always, we're starting out with the news. You and I have been in conferences, legal conferences for the last month, and there's been nothing but AI on the agenda. Same for our news segment. And then, this is cool. We are not a guest show. We don't really like having guests.
We like friends.
We like friends. We're friends of. But we made an exception here. This is the ultimate LinkedIn podcast, LinkedIn for Lawyers podcast. We've got 2 guests, one inside LinkedIn and one on the outside. Stay tuned to get a great overview and detailed. There's some really great tactical stuff about how to build content really well for LinkedIn coming up later on in the show.
Music.
Welcome to Lunch Hour Legal Marketing, teaching you how to promote, market, and make fat stacks for your legal practice. Here on Legal Talk Network.
Dude, I love the bass line on that. My daughter is headed off to her freshman year in college, and her roommate plays the bass, which makes me really happy. Anyone who knows a bass player knows that they are a little quirky, a little weird, and always entertaining. All right, first, the news. All right, with that patriotic music, we are going to talk about Hello Divorce, now in all 50 states. Congratulations to Erin Levine. She has been at Hello Divorce, which is a unique way of using technology to provide more assistance to people in the family law and divorce situation. And she is now rolled out into all 50 states. I have contacted the White House to see if she will soon be rolling into Canada, whether they want it or not. Also in the news, we've talked a lot about AI. There's a lot of conversations about things being dead. Guy, you've been told that your job is going away because of AI. I haven't been that aggressively attacked, but there's really, really interesting funding for Firm Pilot. I believe it was $11.2 million, which include investors from Thomson Reuters FindLaw and HubSpot. Do I have that correct, Guy?
Yeah, yes, pretty close. 11.7 million in funding. You got Thomson Reuters and HubSpot, right? And look, you said you met the Firm Pilot folks.
I ran into Firm Pilot. They were at Purna. They were also at MTMP. It was a really, really fun interaction. I stopped by their booth, was curious to learn more about it. And you could tell that the guy I talked to was the kind of junior woodchuck, a little bright-eyed in the glare of the conference. He was kind of getting their talking points down, and I was asking him about how they use AI to kind of replace the Guy and Conrads of the world. Really fascinating discussion about using AI to rewrite code on websites, to build out link profiles, right? And do some analysis there. They really believe they have to develop content, right? And so it becomes a machine that replaces the agency world. Now, you scared, Guy? Is this a concern? Something to think about?
No, my view of this is the same response I had to the person who said, why would I ever hire a marketing person ever again? Because when I can just type in marketing questions into ChatGPT, which is also true for a lot of the work that lawyers do, maybe not going to court, but although we do have plenty of lawyers submitting ChatGPT generated briefs to courts, which is a subject for another day. My answer is this. If my expertise, what we do, can be reduced to prompts and response in GPTs, then we don't deserve your business. Like the arms race here is that as experts in this, we have to stay ahead of what the machines can do. And there might be a market segment for this. And again, I that's why I prefaced with I haven't demoed this. I don't know them. I'm just going based on, and Bob Ambrosi wrote this up at Law Next, so you can go check it out. We'll put a link in there. And their website, it says we're replacing your marketing people. I'm skeptical that it's a complete replacement, but for a certain segment of the market that wants set it and forget it something, this might be a thing. There's plenty of that, but I think that's the thing that this AI really does to a bunch of different industries is that the rote production work, the types of stuff that you do that doesn't require expertise, largely gets handled by technology. However, is technology quarterbacking integrated local marketing campaigns across social, events, paid search, retargeting, email? I don't think so. Not yet. Maybe someday they will. And so I still think there's a place for, but again, that's obviously very self-interested because that's what we do. But that's kind of the challenge out there to everybody is if you sell expertise, if you are in the service business of selling expertise, you better be able to up your game to stay relevant over the technology. Because if you're spending time and billing clients for the stuff the tech can do, the market's going to end around you. That's my 2 cents.
Well, and the reality, this is pure economics. If this is a zero-sum game, everybody, right? And so if you can get to a level with AI, everyone can get to that level with AI. What is the differentiator? And this is why you and I have really, really honed in on links so frequently. And some agencies disagree with us that links are actually what make the world go round. But you want to name? Let's not name names this morning. It's too early. But we'll see what happens. But regardless, it's fascinating thinking about something coming in really with the agency world in its sights. Not to be outdone on that same theme, Google launching AI Max. Is this a friendly AI dog for brought to you from Mountain View? What's AI Max, Guy?
It's the same thing. We're going to don't worry about your ad optimization. Don't worry about content optimization. Let our AIs handle it, right? This is the pitch. We've got the data. We've got the most sophisticated AIs. Now, again, this is brand new. But we were laughing about this last time because you were saying, hey, LSAs, you have no control, and you're like, ads, you have a lot more control. Agreed. But they're taking that away too. And in fact, they're saying, trust the AI. Now, I went to the and we'll put a link in here to their blog post about this, and I just wanted to read something here.
I'm wondering if you're going to read the same sentence I was going to read. Go ahead.
The data already shows that advertisers that activate AI Max in search campaigns will typically see 14% more conversions or conversion value at a similar cost per acquisition or return on ad spend. For campaigns that are still mostly using exact and phrase keywords, a typical uplift is even higher at 27%. Now, hold on. The footnote there, this is from Google internal data based on campaigns with more than 70% conversions or conversion value from the exact phrase or match keywords or non-retail advertisers. So this is my biggest problem with a lot of this stuff, and it goes to the AIO reporting too. This is all good. Take our word for it, everybody. It just works better. Not to mention, the other problem with this is this actually optimizing to real conversions, or is this optimizing to whatever you're setting as conversion events in your ad campaign, which aren't necessarily qualified consultations? Could be.
So it's interesting. You and I picked out the same exact sentence to read out. And the thing that struck me on this is what Google has done deliberately to make their campaigns less efficient in order to generate more revenue from the legal industry. And they've done that in the pay-per-click game with, among many other things, name conflation, among many other things, max bid strategies, which will get you to spend money on shit that you don't actually, on people who are never going to buy from you. So this goes against what they suggest, what they have done over the past 4 or 5 years, because this is about, it's claiming similar economic efficiencies, or better economic efficiencies.
Yeah, sorry, significantly better.
Better economic
27%
with similar ad spend, and that is not the direction that they've gone over the last 4 or 5 years. That's me being cynical, but okay. You ready to be done talking about AI yet, Guy?
I would be, except the New York Times is now reporting that AI is getting more powerful, but its hallucinations are getting worse. So TLDR, the new wave of these reasoning systems that they're coming up with, they're actually hallucinating more. Now, if you want to twist my arm, like, it is so obvious to me that we are in an AI bubble. Like, don't get me wrong. There's a lot that this technology can do, and we use it, and it's amazing. There are not going to be as many winners. I mean, this just feels like .com all over again. Not to mention that, and this goes, we'll make a link to the local services ads. Same thing is true for Google Ads, and same thing is true for FirmPilot. Who is responsible? Who is accountable for when the AI does something, whatever it is? Maybe it makes a fake case on your website through an AI generated publishing tool. Maybe Google's algorithms create an ad that violates your state's rules of professional conduct and use superlatives or something. Who's on the hook? I mean, the lawyers are clearly on the hook, right? They're the ones that are opting into this stuff. They're on the hook. Is there any accountability for the technology? I mean, and what are these? And that's the other thing too that I really hope people look at is what are your terms of use say? Do your terms of use for these AIs, do they say, hey, look, if we violate a rule of professional conduct, like, we will indemnify you? No, they do not say that. Let me just tell you, they don't say that. They say we're not responsible for whatever the AI creates. That's what it says. So, ultimately, maybe our role will just be guardians of, we don't actually do anything. We just sit around and be like, hey, this machine's not operating based on your rules of professional conduct. We become the marketing police.
Marketing police. But I also think I still believe deeply, even 5 years from now, which seems like a very long time to wait. The difference between the winners and the losers is it's not going to be, are you using AI or not? It's going to be, what are you doing above and beyond that, right?
Do what the bots cannot.
Bots cannot. You heard that here 3 years ago from my co-host. All right. You done yet? You done? You want more AI? You want more AI in your life, Guy? AI is coming for the local pack. Our friend Greg Sterling. By the way, I'm going to give you a little bit of foreshadowing. Guy and I have been talking a lot with Greg Sterling recently. You just put your seatbelt on and wait. We're going to be sharing some Greg Sterling information. But the Greg Sterling information we are talking about right now is AI replacing local pack. What's going on there, sir?
So they report about this on Near Media. Put a link there. Barry covered it over on Search Engine Roundtable 2. You know, essentially, it's an AI overview. In some instances, there's no local pack, so it's a local query. You know, they issue the example of AC repair near me. I've actually done a couple of these too in legal. Maybe we can post some screenshots, or maybe I can do one of those supplemental videos of what those AIOs look like. But essentially, you're getting this AIO, no local pack, and it's popping up more. Sometimes they have contextual links to the firms. Sometimes there's no links. Sometimes it's links to a new brand query, which is a huge issue in the data because it's creating a non-brand query is now creating a new impression for a brand search if you click on one of those links. Anyway, Wild West out here. I mean, my big thing about this is like everything else, people are overselling on generative engine optimization, and we know the secret of how to get you into these results. And I'm like, it's a different result. 3 days, I do a query. 3 days later, totally different. 3 days
3
later,
minutes
totally
later.
different. 3 minutes later, same query. So be careful out there, folks. If it smells too good to be true, it probably is not smelling good. Is that the way you say that? I lost my thread there in the middle of it.
It was good. You were going so well, and then you kind of George Bushed it. All right. Sorry, all of you George Bush fans. Lunch Hour Legal Marketing Conference. We have a summit coming up. We're very excited to announce this. We announced it last show. If you'd like to head over, and this is specifically Guy and I we always like doing something that's a little bit different. This is the 5th iteration of the conference that we've done over the past probably 8 years. This is specifically, and maybe exclusively, for in-house marketing people. 3-day, heavily tactical session in Las Vegas, September 22 through 24. We're currently gathering, like good marketing people, we're doing some market research. We're not assuming we know what you want. So if you would like to submit ideas for what you'd like to hear as an in-house marketer at a conference specific to in-house marketers, we'd love to head over to lunchhourlegalmarketing.com, fill out a form, or if you'd like to suggest a speaker, someone that you would really, really like to hear from, we are open to that as well. But if we receive an AI written speaking pitch,
we will invite you.
To personally mail you a dog collar, and you're going to put it on while you talk to us, and Lunch Hour Legal Marketing records the conversation. We're
going to drop the Game of Thrones shame meme on you, so just get ready.
Don't you remember what happened there?
Oh, just the meme, just the bell. I'll talk about the bell.
I was just saying, man, that's going a little far.
All right, we're not doing that.
No. Lunch Hour Legal Marketing, Legal Talk Network's HR person has just sent Guy a request for a meeting right after this recording. If Guy has offended you completely on YouTube, please subscribe, keep the conversation going, leave us a comment. The last episode we did was based on answering questions submitted over social media. We talked about Erin divorce. Erin Levine's
See,
Hello
that's
Divorce.
Brand right there. Erin divorce.
Erin divorce.
That is brand.
We talked about Erin Levine's Hello Divorce being in all 50 states. We did an interview with Erin, and we'll put a link to that interview, that pod version, in the show notes. And when we come back, please join us for an interview, a look inside the inner workings of LinkedIn with Purna Virji. We're going to go deep on how to create content that really resonates at LinkedIn.
And welcome back. And it is my true pleasure to introduce our guest today, Purna Virji. Purna is one of the best people that I've met professionally, from a just kindness, fun, great personality, and expert on many things, content marketing. We're going to focus on LinkedIn today because that is Purna's current role is a principal consultant at LinkedIn. So we're getting the inside scoop on LinkedIn today. She's also the author of High Impact Content Marketing that I own and highly encourage folks to go purchase. I have the Kindle edition, so in case you want, you can get that for Kindle. Purna, thank you so much for joining Conrad and I for this episode of Lunch Hour Legal Marketing.
Oh, thank you for having me, Guy and Conrad. You're the most brilliant, smartest, kindest, wonderful humans on the planet. So,
all right, this
well, now you've lost all
already.
Credibility, Purna. Now we can't trust anything you said. Thank you. So, we wanted to dive right in. As we talked in prep, LinkedIn has really taken off for lawyers, and I remember, it's funny to date myself, but when I first left practicing, there was actually a lot of conversation in the legal community that like LinkedIn was kind of a waste of time for lawyers. It was very, very deprioritized. This is like 2007. And it's totally flipped. And in fact, today, in a professional networking context, I tend to tell folks like, it's like the place you have to be, and at least from a networking and referral standpoint. And so why don't you share with us kind of your journey to LinkedIn? And then we wanted to keep this really, really tactical, but I think it's important for folks to get a context kind of for your background in content marketing and generally, and what attracted you to LinkedIn in the first place.
Of course, sounds awesome. And I'm so glad to hear that increasingly there's just so much love and people investing some more and more time on LinkedIn, which is incredible to see. And we see it, right? We hit over 1 billion members several months ago all over the world. So my journey to LinkedIn, it all started, I was at Microsoft before. Well, I've spent my whole career, the last 2 decades in marketing, digital marketing, working from all sides. Went to work for Microsoft, advertising for Bing and Bing ads, as it was called at the time. And then just fully passionate about it. And then when Microsoft bought LinkedIn, we were all like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. Let's just see how this is going, and just seeing the growth, seeing the response that I got on the platform myself. I'm like, one day I'm going to go work at LinkedIn. And then luckily a friend of mine pinged me a while ago and said that, hey, there's this awesome job open here at LinkedIn. You should just apply. And I did. And long story short, I've been here now coming up on 5 years, and it's just been incredible. Even in the 5 years I've been here, to see how much the platform has just grown and evolved. But what stayed the same for the last 2 decades that the platform's been here is trust, right? LinkedIn remains one of the top most trusted platforms in the world.
Absolutely.
And why do you think that is?
Go ahead.
I agree with you from a sentiment perspective. I think there is, it's a very different feel, to quote anyone under 20, it's a different vibe than you get from a Facebook, etc. It seems to be much more serious. Why do you think LinkedIn has been able to maintain trust? And the follow-up to that is, do you think that's one of the reasons that the adoption has really picked up? At the risk of throwing you a softball right across the plate.
Well, I'll just share my thoughts, and this is my personal opinion, but
Sure.
One, it's the professional network, so people are increasingly aware that they want to bring their best, work self and full self. But what's also changed is people are getting more comfortable bringing their human side to the platform too. So it wasn't just all about those LinkedIn cringe content that you might see, which is the "I'm so humbled by" or "this is that," right? It's gone. It's all the stuff you see on LinkedIn lunatics, but the subreddit. But no, what some people are getting more and more comfortable sharing their expertise. And what we really find in our research here is that what people come to the platform for, they see their time on LinkedIn as an investment in their time. They're there to learn and grow both professionally and personally. So whether, for example, it's learning negotiation skills, you can come in and you have people generously sharing knowledge. And so then naturally, if we know that this is why people come to the platform, if we see the type of content that performs best or gets the most engagement, it's the content that's actually sharing insights, it's sharing advice, it's sharing, a different take on current affairs or news or something. And not just sharing about it, but sharing ideas for how to address it or tackle it. So it's that kind of really empowering, educational, entertaining type content that tends to do the best.
One of the things that we talk about all the time that you had said, and I'd love to hear you expand on this, is that, you can tell when someone's really enjoying creating the content. And then those pieces of content, those creators tend to do so much better. What kind of advice do you have for lawyers who are like, look, I get it. I'm sold. I know I got to be on LinkedIn, but it's just like I'm uncomfortable or I don't know what to write about. And I thought you had some great tips on how-tos, but how do you bring that joy and that excitement to the creation process? Or is that something that's just like some people have it, some people don't? What do you think about that?
Oh, no, it's absolutely a skill that anyone can learn and adapt. So it's not something we were born with. In fact, you would have to fight to get me off stages now. But when I first started public speaking, I was so terrified. I would just wish for the stage to open up and swallow me up and let me never do this again. So anyone can do this. You would never
know that. You would never know that.
Well, I know my husband always jokes. He's like, if I woke you up at 2 a.m, Purna, do you want to go speak on stage? I'd be like, yes, okay. And the sad thing is he's right. So, but anyway, this is a very learned skill and it comes down to two things. So one is the content and the two is like how you find the joy in delivery, right? Because they're both slightly different. So let's start with the what you talk about first. And it's so important to find the topics that you have expertise in, but that you're passionate about. And that passion is so important because if you care about the topic or you're really interested in it, then you'll naturally be learning more about it and you'll naturally be excited to share it with somebody else. And you'll never run out of ideas. So you'll never have to worry. For me, for example, I absolutely love marketing and content marketing. I could talk about it 1,000 different ways at any given time because I'm so nerdy about it. And so for me, I'm like, yes, anytime I have to talk about content, I'll do it. So find that area of passion and then find that area that is sort of your take on it. So it feels personal. It's not, it's not an AI expert putting out the 8,000th article about AI prompts, right? That's been there, done that. But what makes it about you? What's your spin? You can be like, hey, having worked in instructional design and understanding how adults learn and drive behavior change, let me take that and apply that to content marketing, right? It's that different, unique spin that makes you. And then, of course, you want to tie it all back to what your audience cares about and find that niche. So again, if you find the topics you're passionate about, there's naturally that level of buoyancy or excitement inside because it's a passion area. And then the second thing about delivery, how do you get that fun is that I'm always imagining, an actual audience or two, a person. I'm always feeling like I'm talking to a friend or somebody that I really want to help or care about. And I'll just talk to the camera as if I am talking to really somebody like a mentee or a peer or somebody whose success I'm really invested in or I care about. And then it just comes out that way. So if you don't have that one, you can have your pet in front of you. You can talk to the wall or you can pretend whoever you're talking to and just share it as if it's a one-to-one convo.
Let me ask you a question. I think this is one of the powers of LinkedIn, but it is a fuzzy line that I think Guy and I probably try and figure out, and I think lots of people have this question. I can be passionate about my puppy and post a bunch of pictures of my puppy and flowers on LinkedIn, and it doesn't feel right? There's kind
but
of this
it will go viral.
It might go viral, especially if the puppy bites you. No, but there's a professional lens through which content on LinkedIn exists and is effective. And then there's that kind of personal, this is the paella I made last night for my family that kind of lives on Facebook. But there's a fine balance between being just business and completely focused on kind of the professional side. And there's the importance of letting the who you are out, which exists on other platforms almost entirely. How do you advise people to kind of walk that really important tightrope between the two, right? How much personal do you share? Because you can definitely go too far to the silly for the LinkedIn platform, right?
I think it all depends on, one, your comfort level, and two, your audience and the genre.
Sure.
So for some folks, we all have a certain sort of non-negotiable things that we don't want to bring to light. So for example, my kids, like I'll not really talk about my son or anything like that. That's just me. And plus, that's just my line. For some folks, it's, they may have different standards. And for folks who are not sure and they're trying to figure it out, you can start with baby steps. So like a baby step could be share behind the scenes. Like a day in the life of videos tend to do really well on LinkedIn. So whether you're walking through your office and be like, oh, let me show you this awesome view that I'm seeing in my office. That could work really well if you're at an event. Just, hey, go behind the scenes and we talk to this. Here's why I chose this event. Just a little bit more into how you think. Another thing you could try is sharing a book you're reading or something that you're there, or a great learning. For example, you could say, hey, I was reading this book and like this really jumped out at me, because it's not just sharing something, but it's sharing your personal point of view on something. So people feel like they get to see the authentic you and not that stiff upper lip, the business persona that is, it's not going to go very far. So just think about, what does my audience care about? If you're ever in a doubt about how much to share or what to share, go back to your audience. Because if I could ask everyone to make one switch, it would be this. Like, if you remember only one thing from today, it's your audience is not, your content is about your audience. It's not about you. It's not, what do I want to say or what do I need to promote? It's, what does my audience care about? What do they want to hear? And if sharing a little bit more about yourself can help there, go for it.
Awesome. So I wanted to get tactical, because that's what people listen to Lunch Hour Legal Marketing for, is like, what can I'm sitting here eating lunch. I'm a lawyer. Let's talk about some of the more common questions that come up. And I think one of the first ones that everybody keeps asking about is, what time of day should I be posting?
I know. I wish there was a really hard and fast answer, but I'll give you two things and I'll tell you what I do personally. So the two things is, one is, depends on your audience. What time do they tend to be most active on the platform? Because the more of your audience you reach, the better. For me, I'll try to, and this is me personally, this is like Purna's posting on LinkedIn hat, not Purna's employee hat. What I've personally found the most success with is posting around like between 9 and 11 a.m. East Coast time, because for me, that gets me folks in Europe still awake and using the platform. It's when East Coast is awake. It's when Central is awake. It's when, the West Coast is still waking up. So for me, I find that tends to get me the most reach or engagement at the time. But there is no hard and fast algorithmic rule. It's not like, if I do this, that will happen, right? I wish it was that easy.
We talk about two circles. You have the circle of people that you know, and you have the circle of people that you wish you knew, right? And LinkedIn does a great job of organically connecting with the people that you know, and the more you engage with them, certainly that becomes a virtuous cycle. Expanding that reach, right, through paid advertising on LinkedIn, expanding your content's reach. Do you have any best practices to expand within a targeted market that message, right? So I'm trying to reach the people that I don't know yet or who don't know me yet.
Yeah. So one thing, like LinkedIn is actively showing more and more posts based on topics that are of interest to people. So sometimes you'll see posts not of the people you follow. So that's a good thing. But one of the easiest, like one simple thing that you can do to get more exposure to the field is to go and engage with other folks that people follow. Go and look at who are the influential folks in the niche that you're looking at, engage with their content, reshare content, and get more engagement on your post. So if you commented on my post, then all of your followers, who may not be people who know who I am, would still now get to see my post as a result of seeing your comment on my post. So in another way, the more engagement that you get is also a really good thing, because you'll get that spillover benefit of getting exposure to more and more different feeds. So that would be a thing you could do. And I just want to caveat, that doesn't mean that we just use ChatGPT to be like, give me the
follow-up
most
question.
To do that.
Right? So I think, Guy and I talk about this quite a lot.
Yeah.
What is LinkedIn doing around? Because there's clearly a bunch of ChatGPT spam, auto-generated content trying to game your algorithm. How have you guys responded to that? Like, what does that look like? That has to be a concerted effort, right? And what are you guys doing to handle that? Because it is a problem.
Of course. And look, ultimately, it's having worked at a search engine, having worked at a social media platform, I can just say this thing about algos in general. The one advice I have is to stop trying to chase them, stop trying to get some clout. You may win in the short term. I mean, look, Guy and Conrad, like, you've spoken extensively about SEO in the past as well. You know, these short-term things can have short-term effects, but there's no longevity there. So forget that. Like, nothing beats. Who is the algo trying to please? The algo is trying to please the actual human, right? Whether I'm a search engine, whether I'm a social media network, I want more users. I want more stickiness, because then the more users I have, the more we can charge for our ads, ultimately, right? It's just a business decision. So the algo is heavily vested in making sure that it's giving the audiences and people who come what they want, what they're looking for. And unshockingly, like, none of us want that AI-generated generic like spammy type of comments or posts. Like, we'll just scroll right past it. So the thing is, just focus on building content. Like, don't get taken in sometimes by the hype. Use AI to help you in terms of either understanding your audience or translating your content to different places or adding closed captioning to your content, cleaning up the background, etc. But, if you're just going to rely on AI to just write everything for you, it's not something you can offload. I mean, hey, if I could get somebody else to go to the dentist for me or go to the gym for me, I'd be like, please do it. But sadly, we will not get the benefits of that. So it's the same way.
Love
Purna,
that.
you talked about,
sorry,
you talked about time, and you also said, engagement. I think one of the things, and I think this is built into the algorithm, but it's also built into humanity. So there's two questions to this. Number one, you can spend a ton of time on LinkedIn. You could sit down for half an hour a day and work this and make it really successful.
That's not even very much.
That's not even very much, right? Compared to some. But then, so there's a question of like, is there, in your mind, is there a kind of minimum threshold of time that you need to put into this in order to make it work? Yeah.
Actually, let me take it one step higher, because people always ask me how much time is enough. And I can tell you from talking to so many folks who post regularly, very successfully on the platform, and including myself, 4 to 5 hours a month, sometimes it can make a big difference. So how I advise that is, hey, can you block off 30 minutes on a Monday, 30 minutes on a Friday? And here's what I do personally. So I am always glued to my phone. So I have the little notes app. Anytime I'm running around and I have an idea, I'll just put it down in my notes app. And then when I have my blocked off free time for LinkedIn, I'll create my posts. I'll come up with ideas for videos. And sometimes I'll just batch shoot like 4 or 5 videos in one sitting, because, hey, I don't have to wear makeup 5 times, different times. And I've slopped it on. Let me just record it. And then I'll go back to living in my PJs. So, and then you can use the scheduling tool on LinkedIn, and then you can schedule it someday. So, of course, then you can always move things around. If you want to be timely, do that. How I advise folks to start, can you post once a week? And then once you get comfortable doing that, can you double that, post twice a week? And so let's say if you're only posting once or twice a week, on the other days, still be active on the platform, right? Engage with others. Like, remember, we're not an SEO channel. We're not a blog. It is a social media network. So the engagement that you want, be the change you want to see in the world, as Gandhi says, right? Go out and comment on others, engage with others, lift up your community, celebrate their wins, share advice if people are asking, thank people for sharing advice if you've learned something. And it doesn't need to take a lot of time. Like very often for me, I'll be sitting there. Sometimes we'll have 15, 20 minutes between meetings. Like I'm actively going on LinkedIn. Like you can spend a lot of time, but you don't have to. Like, as you said, 4 to 5 hours a month to start is not a big investment, whatever. I think we can all carve out that time for ourselves, right? If it's a priority, you'll find it and see what works for you.
And is that effective? Do you think putting in 4 to 5 hours a month into this platform is sometimes there's like a minimum threshold, right? To actually get something, to get the flywheel moving. Do you think that is effective for, I'm a lawyer, I want to spend most of my time lawyering or running my firm or whatever it might be. But if I put in 4 hours a month is 1 hour a week. You think that can be effective at generating the desired outcome, which for lawyers is to look engaged, but and expand their reach, but not to spend their entire lives on social media, because some of them hate it, right? Some of them hate social media as a principle.
It really can be. It absolutely can be. Again, it all depends on your content. It depends on, do you understand your audience well? Are you giving them the content that's going to resonate with them? Then guess what? You don't need 8,000 posts. 1 or 2 posts can do that. And second thing is just set your expectations. Like this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's not like, hey, I spent 4 hours 1 month. Like where's my result? Yeah. It's like, it takes time. Trust takes time to build over time. It's a worthy investment. But again, people need to see you. They need to see you regularly. The whole difference between, so we have a saying at LinkedIn, sometimes we'll say, like, if you can post like 90 days consistently, and like after 90 days you already start to see the traction, because that's when most people get fed up and they stop. So if you can just outlast the competition, go a little bit longer, just invest in it, you will see it. Like there's no such thing as an overnight success. You're not going to come on. In fact, I was advising somebody the other day, an exec, and the exec said, well, but Purna, when I post, it'll be sometimes cricket, so I'll get very few likes. I'm like, yes, but everybody has a day one, right? We all start somewhere. Like all of the big creators today had to go through that rite of passage to get there. And again, the whole niche is understand your audience, give them what they need or they want. Right? And as lawyers, you know this. What are the common questions that you're getting when people come to your office? What are the things that you say that usually reassure people? Again, the non-confidential parts, of course. What are the worries people have? And all of these are the easiest things that will come naturally to you to talk about. And you'll already know how to phrase it because you talk to your audience in that way already.
Let's get tactical on video. So it's pretty obvious. I know we won't put you on the spot and make you speak for LinkedIn, but it's pretty obvious to me that
yes, we will. That's the whole point. That's LinkedIn.
Well, good. Good thing I know a lawyer or two in case I get in trouble with my PR teams.
Yes. That LinkedIn's making a push on video, right? And I think it's, again, I just anecdotally, people love video content, right? I mean, I just as a user, and especially when you talk about in the context of legal, there's nothing that humanizes, professional service provider in a scary situation, like being able to hear them talk, like what it's like working with them, or like hearing their story, or hearing, how do they come to practice law and all that kind of stuff. And so it makes perfect sense to me as to why LinkedIn would want to have more video content. What are you advising people, and in specifically you had a lawyer client about creating video? Maybe just some of the basics on like how long should you make videos and that kind of stuff. Those questions come up a lot.
Yes, I'm so glad we're talking about video. It's our fastest growing format. We see LinkedIn video uploads 49% up year over year. But it's not just the most uploaded, it is the most engaged format, right? 36% more engagement on video than any other, from image or carousel or any other kind. So it just works. And one of the reasons, exactly as you said, Guy, video works because it's the fastest way to let people hear from you, see you. That you can go through the know, like, trust formula like much faster with a video. also, it's I will just say that if you're not comfortable starting in video, you don't have to. If you're doing a podcast like this one, you could get recorded clips and put it on there. You don't have to speak into the camera, but it's really the least cost-effective method to do. So the most successful videos tend to be 1 to 2 minutes in length. So that's not very long at all. It's just enough for one point. So every video should be about just one topic. One video, one topic. It allows you to get deep enough into one thing. And then you don't have to post every single day. For me, what I've been doing is I post a video once a week. So every Tuesday, I've created a little mini video series that I call #Purna's Pro Tip. It's a custom hashtag. It's easy for folks to find more if they see it. And then I'll batch create 4 or 5 videos at a time, and then I'll just schedule it for the month. And so then I don't have to worry. And then in the middle of that, outside of that, I'm actively engaging on LinkedIn. The other thing that people worry about when they hear video is, oh my gosh, big budget. Nope. I'll tell you what I use. I'll tell you what so many folks use, including the CEO of McDonald's, for example. He's got amazing videos. Like, he's just him at his desk. And so for my videos, it's just me at my desk. I talk into my phone. I use just a free editing tool like CapCut is what I use to edit it down, add some, music at the back, add some filters, things to make the video shine. And that's it. It's so simple. And it's the beginning, as with any like beginner's curve, as you're figuring out a new software, it'll be time consuming. But after that, it's such a cinch. In 5 minutes, totally, I could record my video, edit it, and, just record and edit it in 5 minutes. Then when I write the content and everything's a little bit longer. Can I throw in another tip? So when you're thinking about video, by the way, we only think about video, but video is not always searchable. If we're SEOs and the audience especially, you're like, hey, people can do searches on LinkedIn to find video posts. So don't forget your actual description, your sort of actual post text as well, because that is the part that is searchable, that is findable. So if you want more discoverability, make sure you have that as well.
That's a great tip. Yeah, I think that's often overlooked, right? So there are different elements to this. Give me another tip. Favorite tip.
Favorite tip for video is, again, just be yourself and get right into it. Many times people are like, I'm going to put a little intro, a little brand, whatever. Nope, you've lost them. So just start right into it. You can put any branding at the end so you can ask them.
I like
do that one. Another good tip is to just lead with some kind of insights into action. The first 4 to 5 seconds are the most important. People will decide whether to watch or not. Another tip is make sure you are putting in closed captions, because as of the end of 2024, 80% of videos on LinkedIn were still started off to watch with the sound off. So that way your closed captions are even more important. And then people can, of course, unmute the video to hear it, but make sure you have some kind of text in there to help people figure out what it's about.
I love this because we're doing it wrong. Because I've got my little intro, my cutesy little music at the beginning.
Well, the good news is you have it. Put it at the end. That's all.
No, put it at the end. That's the key, right? I like that. It's a good call.
What else? What haven't we covered about LinkedIn that lawyers need to know about LinkedIn?
Oh, and the other tip that I will share if people are feeling really overwhelmed about having to always create new content, anytime you post, your total addressable market is not reached, right? At any given time, you could post something and not everyone consumes it, or not everyone's in the right frame of mind to consume it. It's totally okay to reshare or reuse some of your content that's done well before. So you can give yourself, make it a little easier on yourself. So really, once you have, you've had a quarter worth of content, like what were the 2 or 3 posts that did really well, post them again the next quarter, and then so on, and keep going. So great content works, right? If we're at a wedding or a party, and we're still dancing and singing to songs from the 90s, right? The best DJs know to play all the greatest hits. So just channel the good DJ and replay your greatest hits.
And
that is a good soundbite. That will turn into a clip that we're going to use.
Awesome.
I'll also say, because I've been cheating here and going, I have your hashtag up, and we'll get you another plug for it, but Purna's Pro Tip hashtag. So There are so many great tips on here just in scrolling in these 10 seconds that I've been doing it. So if you've people are listening, if you've got more questions, check out the hashtag. And I'll admit here, I'm terrible at using hashtags. I always forget to use them. I don't know if it's like a LinkedIn thing. But that just seems to me, especially the idea of this custom hashtag so that people can find you. Because again, I know this isn't a LinkedIn feedback episode, but one thing that I would love to see on LinkedIn is a little bit more curation of my feed. So the ability to, and I'm sure you've heard this before, I'm not the first person to say this, but the hashtags do serve as a really useful way to curate, especially when you talk about those custom hashtags. So make sure you check out hashtag Purna's Pro Tip on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Thank you. And then I'll add one more tip if there's time.
Yeah, go.
Which is,
Yes.
100%.
When you're talking about repurposing your content, don't think of repurposing in the same, yes, you can do it in the same format, but don't limit yourself to that. You can take something that you create as a video, then turn it into a little text post, or turn it into a little carousel. The swipeable posts that you see with different tips, turn it into a little image, right? Play around with different formats. And one piece of content can live. My VP has this awesome saying where she's like, we need to sweat our assets. And I'm like, yes, sweat your assets as much as you can. So kudos to Mel Furs for that. So, yeah.
That's a great one. One other thing that we get a lot as we're kind of getting to the end here is the distinction between a profile and a firm page.
Oh.
And a lot of lawyers will say, look, I don't have time to do this stuff. I'm practicing law, but I'm gonna, hire a social media manager who's gonna manage the firm page. I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts about the differences between profiles and pages, and what you might advise someone who might be in that situation where they're like, the lawyers, they know they need to be here, but they're just really not committed to doing it. Is it worthwhile to have a firm page, and what kind of things we might think about in terms of publishing on firm pages?
Yes, you need both. So why do you need both? Why, if you have a firm page, it's not enough, and why you need an executive to post? People will follow people before they follow brands. You see this at any given day. I can look at Microsoft. Who follows Microsoft? They have X amount of followers. If I look at who follows like Satya Nadella, double the amount. Same thing for Google. Same thing for anyone, right? People are more likely to engage with an actual person's post, much more so than a brand. So you can just amplify messages both ways. You have the firm page because people will need to come in. It's also there for credibility that this is the brand, this is the type of thing they focus on. It's also really great for employment branding, or if you want to attract certain talent, if you can highlight the people in the company, it helps with your sort of talent branding, but also helps people get a behind the scenes look. We all want to work with the people that we like and trust and feel like will have our best interests, especially when it's a legal case. So post there, post updates, post about the different people, highlight the people, highlight what your, any sort of initiatives that you're doing as a brand, whether it's a charitable event or you're sponsoring something. That would be awesome. Do that. You can share about your people doing other stuff, so it's more win. And then as a person also, you could cross post from your post. You could share something from your post page, but again, add in 2 or 3 sentences about why it's important to you, about that difference. So you definitely need both. We also know how our human brains work is that sometimes repetition, seeing things often, is what helps messages stick. So, hey, if I've seen something from your law firm, then I see it from you, then I see it maybe from a colleague of yours. It's going to make you stand out so much more.
We're out of time.
Oh, already? No.
Purna's like, thank God. I'm done. I'm done with these 2 Muppets.
We're done boring.
Purna, thank you so much. For folks that want to follow you, get to know you better, what you're all about, where do you send folks that want to learn from you?
LinkedIn.
Shocker.
So
wow, that was the most softball question we've asked in a year.
Please, hit me up, connect. I'm always happy to nerd out about marketing. So, connect with me there.
Thank you so much.
Huge thanks. Great to see you again.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And we're back. And the whole purpose of this episode was to give you both sides of a coin, a LinkedIn coin. And so we had some great expertise from Purna, from inside LinkedIn. And now we're going to talk to Tony Albrecht, who is he's the LinkedIn Yoda for lawyers.
LinkedIn Yoda.
And one thing that it was serendipitous that this came onto my radar, but he does this 5 Recommendation Friday. And we'll put a link in there so you can go check this out. But really, really interesting and effective stuff. In fact, these Recommendation Fridays are snowballing into a whole new use, or maybe not new, but an expanded use of the recommendation tool on LinkedIn. And when you see this stuff, it's extremely powerful. And so with that, Tony Albrecht. And we are super excited for this particular segment. We have with us today the Yoda of LinkedIn lawyering. Oh, he's shaking it off, but
he's being
He's being
this
modest.
is going to be on his homepage pretty soon, the Yoda of LinkedIn lawyering, or maybe under his LinkedIn profile.
Tony Albrecht, welcome to Lunch Hour Legal Marketing.
Gentlemen, thank you. Long-time listener, first-time caller, and yeah, that Yoda of LinkedIn lawyering came from, to date, my favorite testimonial I've gotten. So naturally, I slapped that onto the headline, and people are liking it. It keeps coming up. Yeah,
I love it. You are a Yoda of LinkedIn, especially in the legal context. Why don't you first? I mean, I think a lot of people that listen to Lunch Hour Legal Marketing know who you are, but for those who don't, why don't you spend a couple seconds here sharing your journey from lawyer to Yoda?
All right. I'll try to keep this to 3 seconds. I practiced for 12 years, mostly out of my hometown of St. Louis. I worked mostly on the defense side and in insurance defense firms. Like just about every lawyer, I ignored the platform more or less throughout my time in practice. Saw it mainly as just a way to get in trouble and where I could announce new jobs. Decided to move to Canada, courtesy of my Canadian wife in 2021. That decision meant I ended up leaving the practice about 6 months later, left the firm I had been working with for several years. One thing led to another, and I sort of started paying attention to LinkedIn in a new way. I took on a business development role. The platform opened up in this new way where I describe it as a Matrix-like moment of all of a sudden it was like I knew Kung Fu and I could just kind of see how to gather attention on that platform. One thing led to another from there. I saw the opportunity in the legal space, combine that with the background. It's now been 2.5 years since I started my agency, Contender, focused on helping lawyers leverage the platform. And was that 3 seconds?
That was very well done, very concise. And you've got, and we'll make sure we have links to all the stuff that you want us to have links to in the show notes. But one thing that I noticed I think it's on your boot camp page that I really liked, and I wanted to maybe kick off this conversation about LinkedIn. You say, but as the saying goes, claps ain't cash. And I love that. Conrad and I talk a lot about, attribution and trying to understand the value of these activities on business. Talk to us. Tell the people that might be, start with the people, and Conrad and I said in the pre-show, we're not going to try to convince people to be on LinkedIn. That's not the objective here. And in fact, there's probably a lot of people that listen who are, Conrad's hypothesis was that if you're not on LinkedIn, you skip this episode of Lunch Hour Legal Marketing. And I was like, no. There are some people that are going to be listening to this that are like, tell me why LinkedIn? What is it about LinkedIn that makes it worth my time to do?
I like that framing. And I've appreciated your conversations about the attribution challenge. And Conrad, you talk a lot about dark social. And I've been listening to you on that point for 2 years as, the way I describe myself, I still don't think of myself as a marketer. I still just think of myself as a lawyer who semi-accidentally got good at LinkedIn. I want to go back to what you started with there, Guy, about the collapsing cash piece, where the value that I've discovered on LinkedIn and that I try to help my clients unlock is we all understand that networking is incredibly valuable. We understand that line about how your network is, or your net worth is your network. Your network is your net worth.
Both
Goes
ways.
both ways, doesn't it?
Goes both ways.
And what LinkedIn provides specifically, something I talk to everybody about, is because we all learned LinkedIn the wrong way, as a place where you just stash your digital resume and announce when you get a new job, or you're, humbled and thrilled to announce this or that. Because we all learned
I am
that
so
that's
humbled to be recognized for being so awesome.
Exactly. Because we all learned LinkedIn that way, LinkedIn has a supply-demand problem where that's just about all the content that the LinkedIn algorithm has to show people.
Right.
And the problem with that stuff, it's fine, but it's not particularly interesting. So the opportunity here on that platform, your question about why LinkedIn, why would we think about getting active on LinkedIn? We're all there. Everybody's there. Everybody you're interested in connecting with is on that platform. But because of how we all learned it, the LinkedIn algorithm has an incredible demand for interesting, engaging content, and the supply is next to nil. And that's the arbitrage, let's say, opportunity for just about every attorney on the planet.
If most of your effort is spent on referrals, do you think attorneys should be thinking more about how do I reach that end client through LinkedIn or not? Do you think that's an appropriate focus on the referral business instead of the end client?
My take is you can do it all. You can. And it's not rocket science. The way I think about it is you identify who it is you're interested in talking to. And if you're a firm that's looking to generate more cases, and most of the firms I'm talking about, they're the sorts of firms who want to bring their caseloads down, right? They're looking for fewer high leverage cases to take on as they go along. I'm think maybe a little unusual in that respect. But if I'm, let's say, a firm, a family firm or a trust and estates firm, and I'm looking to generate more clients across the board, then what I might do is go into LinkedIn and I could run searches for those trusted advisors, where whoever that might be, in my location, right, in my state, in my town. And then also I would maybe just look for business owners, or even search hashtags related to my city, and then look for people who are relatively active on the platform. And then I'm looking to add them to my network as well. And ultimately what I'm trying to do is just grow the network with the relevant people, understanding that same dynamic that I described at the top of that supply-demand problem applies. Like with just about everybody you add in your town or in your city, almost everybody, whether you're in legal or you're in accounting or you're in the automotive industry, home services, medical, whatever it is, your feed is probably hurting for genuine, authentic, interesting stuff. So if you're able to just add those people to your network, then when you are able to and it doesn't need to be a masterpiece every day. If you're just able to be 20% more genuine than that, I'm humbled and thrilled to announce, you have an unfair advantage in a way that your stuff can spread in a disproportionate way. And those people who tend not to engage on LinkedIn, so you'll probably never know that they are seeing you, but I'm telling you, they are seeing you in a way that the way it comes up tends to be you're walking around town and somebody just mentions, hey, I love what you've been doing on LinkedIn. Or you run into somebody you haven't seen in 10 years and they bring up your LinkedIn stuff. It tends to be that kind of anecdotal stuff. And I don't even know if I answered the question. I hope I did.
You did. For me, you closed a loop on an important thing that I wanted to make sure that we hit home, which is you just described exactly what lawyers should be doing from an attribution standpoint. It's those anecdotes, and I think, there's a lot of different ways to talk about attribution to implement the way that data flows through a firm, but catching those anecdotes in the CRM is so important because that's how you go back and say, this is worth my time. Tell us your thoughts on the algorithm in general, because I know lawyers are sitting there. This is what they want to, because I know they ask you this too. There's a couple of things they want to ask you. How do you game the algorithm so that I can show up as much as Tony does? Because Tony's all over the place. What time of day should I be posting? And how many times should I post per day?
Okay. I'll try to answer those quickly. So how many times per day, I think in terms of times per week. And what I tell people is that you can do some damage with once a week. For our clients, we do not post for anybody more than twice a week. Right?
Really?
So I think because the reason for that is, again, it's this idea that when we think about the networks of the people in your network and then the people in their networks of your connections, very, very, very few people have much going on on their feeds at all. That, like, the three of us on this call, our feeds look very different by virtue of how active we are on the platform and how engaged than almost anybody else. And so I have the benefit of being able to see what a lot of people's feeds look like, right? And the first thing I do is like, okay, let's start to spice this feed up a little bit. Let's start to get more stuff in here that is the stuff that draws you in. So because of that, if you post once or twice and your post pops up, and let's say it's a decent post, somebody reads it, the algorithm says, oh, thank God, I got something to show this person. The algorithm is going to want to show another one of your posts again, but it does not need to wait for your next post. It can go back to your post from 4 days ago. It can go back to your post from 2 weeks ago, and it will. And so you're able to start to build that affinity in that way. So I think I have enough data points to feel that it's solid, that if you can do more, I think that's great. The conventional wisdom used to be you want to post daily. In my mind, I think there was a shift back half of 2024 that I associate with AI. And I think of it as, in a world where anybody can post 5 times a day, quantity is no longer an indicator of quality. Right? All quantity now might mean is that you have a ChatGPT account. Right? So what we've doubled down on the quality aspect of it. And I say that for my clients. I remain as undisciplined as I ever was. But that's how I think about that. When it comes to the time of day to post, you guys are familiar with Justin Welsh, I'm sure, who's kind of the godfather of LinkedIn nerds. And I am now convinced that there never was a golden hour on LinkedIn. I am convinced that we are all just in Justin Welsh's funnel, that he persuaded everybody that the optimal time to be there was 8 a.m. Monday through Friday, because then he could get you in his funnel and go buy his course.
It was all psyop.
It was an absolute masterstroke. It was incredible. But so you see all these posts of people saying, I posted on Saturday morning and it went bananas. I posted on Tuesday night and it went crazy. And again, I think it goes back to simple supply and demand, that you have fewer people posting at that time. So reach is more readily available, because what I'm pretty sure is correct, is that engagement within the first 45 minutes matters. So if there are fewer people posting at a time, and again, your stuff is more interesting than other stuff, then it's easier to get more reach posting at those off times. Only thing I'll say about when not to post, it's best not to post when most people in your network are asleep. I would say that. What was the other question in there?
Well, the third one was more just about like gaming the algorithm in general. And and you opened the door for another topic that I'm so curious to hear more of your thoughts. I know you've shared a little bit, but LinkedIn has, I think it's pretty well acknowledged, has a big spam problem. Like AI spinning out comments, posts, messages, the whole nine.
People. Right? Or there are a lot of beautiful foreign women who really would like to connect with me. One of those two things has to be true.
Conrad, that's just unique to you, buddy. But I think listeners would like to kind of get your sense of that. You've talked, I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth. You've talked about being more human and finding ways to be human. I think that is, that's exactly right. But you use AI, right? I mean, there has uses to help craft content, maybe in a constructive way. Maybe you could, well, whatever. I'll let you take it. Topic of AI and LinkedIn content creation and spam, all in one.
Go.
All right. I'll try to be concise here. When it comes to the spam problem, it is changing how I think about engagement, where I would say 18 months ago, there was not so much a problem of comment sections getting flooded with just banal reflections of the general
post.
Right, yeah. Well, or even great post, or if you post something about a specific topic, then the comment will be, yes, and reflecting the general idea, like a summary sentence of your post, right? And there's so much of that now. I will say I've gotten much tighter on accepting connection requests than I was even 6 months ago. And I'm also much quicker to delete comments just like clearing the crap out, like just trying to get it out. In terms of where I see AI is valuable, to your point, I locked myself into a condo about 9 months ago, and I said, when I come out of this condo 4 days from now, I will be good at generating LinkedIn posts using my custom GPTs. And I was. And today I use copywriters far less than I did before, because the Tony Albrecht GPT is frankly already better than any copywriter I've worked with, which, I mean, I'm a writer at heart. It does hurt my heart to say that.
Right.
But I think the GPTs will be better than me. Give it another 12 months. Maybe that's being overly generous to myself. So my thinking on this, and now in the Linky creator space and the ghostwriting space, I'm friends with a bunch of people who do this for a living. So everybody and their mother is trying to figure out how to build a LinkedIn post generator, or some sort of service in that space. And my hunch is we're all going to start using this stuff. We're developing a version of this of our own, in a way that I think that stuff becomes commodity. It's going to be water. This is water. It is what it is. And the differentiating factor, the thing that we're going to need to lean into more, I think, is how willing we are to be more genuine. And this is why in my whole business model, I'm starting to shift rather aggressively from being the ghostwriter for lawyers to being a guy training people on how to become more magnetic online. That these skills around, some of it is around writing, but some of it's around how you show up on video. Some is understanding positioning, understanding personal branding, overcoming, when I describe resistance, one of my favorite books, Stephen Pressfield's The War of Art, but just that thing that keeps us from putting out creative work or putting ourselves out there for fear of how the world might react or how somebody might react. I think of that as a really essential skill. And I think the more AI starts to dominate, these are the things that are going to help us, let's say, leverage and work with the technology rather than continue to fight against it, which resistance I do think is futile at this point. So, but I'm interested in your take on that as well.
Well, Tony, I mean, I think the interesting thing with LinkedIn, unique to LinkedIn, is that it really has its foundation. I mean, it's really a professional platform. And we've talked about, being personal. You said the word positioning a couple of times. We've used the word affinity a couple of times. Genuine. At some point, let me be more direct. Can you give a good guideline for when is it too personal, right? So, I mean, lots of people will post all sorts of things on Facebook. There's kind of a gray line. It's not like LinkedIn is full of pictures of puppies and, what I'm making my spouse for dinner. It feels like at some point in time, there's a line that on LinkedIn, it's just not appropriate. How do you guide people to understanding where that line should be?
So my encouragement to lawyers here, and this is a lot of the work I do, is being the coach, being the therapist in certain of it's going to be okay. That we have fears about, well, I can't say that I got a DUI. I mean, I post about, my problems with drinking. I'll be fortunate to celebrate 15 years since my last drink in May, but that's some part of my origin story that leads me to here, right?
Right.
But people saying why I can't post that I got D's in high school. I can't post that I failed the bar exam. It's not only can you, but you're a killer. You're awesome at what you do. Nobody gives it. I can say shit here, right? Yeah.
You can.
You are welcome.
Nobody gives a shit that you failed the bar. Right? You're running a $5 million law firm. You're doing okay. You're doing great. And that real stuff, point again, if you've processed it and it's part of that backstory, it's so powerful. The shorthand I use is when we're out there, we don't want to say everything, but we want everything we say to be true to us.
Tony, can you give us, as we wrap up, 3 of your favorite examples of people who are killing it, lawyers who are killing it on LinkedIn?
Let's see if I can do 3. One, I won't provide any clients of mine. One
Sure.
is Darrell Champion out of Georgia. I think Darrell was one of the OGs in terms of posting every day. And that dude is doing just about all of it himself. He's got a little bit of marketing help now, but if you want to see a lawyer just being real the way I'm talking about, Darrell's an awesome example. I'll offer Emily Logan Stedman, who's on the defense side with a big firm I think she's out of Milwaukee.
Okay.
She just made partner. She's been posting consistently in an environment that most people would think is not welcoming to that.
Right.
And she does such a good job. And then a third one. I'll go ahead and I will offer. I'll say I like what Brian Glass has done as well. And
Okay.
Brian's been again posting frequently, and he's also marketing GLM, their coaching company. But I think Brian also does a great job of being genuine.
Outstanding.
Tony, thank you so much for spending some time with us. I would ask you where people should reach out to connect with you.
No, you can't do that. You can't
So I'm going to ask you a different question. Where else besides LinkedIn can people go to learn more about Tony?
See, I've been ignoring my website for about.
This is what I'm thinking. I think you
years.
have to travel to Canada and sit down and have some Timmy Hortons with Tony. Outside of LinkedIn, that's your best option.
It actually
Fair enough.
is.
In real life.
I've gotten back into the podcasting game on my own. Although I named it the Linked Legal Podcast, and the more I think about it, the more I absolutely hate that name. So I think I got to change it.
How long has it been around? How many episodes?
Only we're only 7 in.
Okay, you have time to change then.
Yeah.
Well,
So I may have
connect on
changed it by
LinkedIn.
the time this goes live. Yeah, connect
Yeah.
on LinkedIn.
Connect on LinkedIn. Tony, thank you so much for joining us. And with that, dear listeners, we say farewell for this episode of Lunch Hour Legal Marketing. If you just landed here, have no idea where you are, please do subscribe. We'd love to hear from you. Reach out on LinkedIn and the other platforms where you find Lunch Hour Legal Marketing. Till next time, Connor and Guy and Tony saying farewell.
Money makes a world go round. Yeah, money make a world go round. Yeah, money make a world go round. Yeah, money make a world go round.